Today I thought I'd talk about something which I could embed onto my blog, which is ridetothestars.co.uk. So today I'm talking about how I found out about my dad's passing and how I felt about it within the first few days of finding out. It's a question I get asked a lot. When someone's comfortable with me and they know that I'm okay talking about my dad's death, it's the first question they ask. It's kind of like, how did you find out? How were you told that your dad had passed away? And I think it's people who have lost a parent, it's kind of the thing that sticks in your mind, and it's the thing that you don't expect it. You never expect it, and especially in an accident you don't expect to find out that a parent has died, especially when I was 20 at the time. So you don't expect it, it's just one of those things. But for people who don't know, who've just come and stumbled across this video, my dad passed away last December on Boxing Day, so the 26th of December 2016, in a motorbike accident. It was no one's fault, no one was speeding, no one was doing anything wrong. It was just one of those things where wrong place, wrong time, it happened. I used to work for a phone shop in England. I was working Boxing Day and it was a normal day. I was carrying on doing my job, everything was fine. I was like, oh, I'm working Boxing Day, like I can't be arsed. But it was just a normal day, like everything was going fine. I was counting down the hours to finish, and then I just remember being with a customer and my manager called me over and was like, can I have a word, Beth? I wasn't liked at this shop. I was hated by the manager. I knew it. I was like, what have I done this time? Like, I've done something wrong again. But he kind of called me over. He was like, oh, come over here, Beth. I need to talk to you. And I was like, oh, I've sold something wrong. And when I looked up and looked into the corner, my mum and my stepdad were stood in the corner of the shop. And my mum was in tears. And I was just like, this isn't right. For them to have come into my work, for one, is weird. For them to be crying is even weirder. And then my boss was like, you need to go downstairs and talk to your mom. And I was like, okay, like what is going on? So they have a downstairs in the shop that I lived in, worked in, where they kept all the stock, like not padlocked, but like it had a pin code thing. And he was like, you need to go and take your mum downstairs and just have a word with her. And I was like, right, okay. I'm taking her downstairs, and the thing that's in my head is like my granddad, because my granddad had been in hospital over Christmas. So he'd just come out before Christmas and he was in a very, very bad way. We almost lost him, and the first thing that came to my head was, granddad's died. My granddad's really, really ill and he's gonna die. And that like broke my heart, because my granddad is like my world. Like, I love my granddad to bits. So I was like, is it granddad? And mum was like, no, it's not your granddad. And I just thought, well, if it's not granddad, it's got to be grandma. Like, it stressed her out so much that granddad's in hospital that it's made her ill, or something's happened to her. So I was like, is it grandma? And mum was like, no, like, stop trying to guess, you just need to wait until we're downstairs. Obviously, like, I don't want to wait, like someone's going to tell me something big. So we go downstairs and mum's like, sit down, you need to sit down. And I was like, I don't want to sit down, just tell me what's happened, because I was starting to get like stressed. So I sat down and I was just like, I was starting to like, you know when you're not crying but you're just kind of like on edge. I was like, come on, like just tell me. She just said, your dad has been killed. And the first thing that came into my head was, because of the way she'd said it, I thought she meant he'd been murdered. And I was like, what? Killed? Like, he's been killed? And she was like, yeah, he's died. And I was like, Dad? Like, my first reaction was like, Dad? Because I thought that I'd misheard and it was Granddad. So I was like, Dad's died. And she was like, yeah, your dad has been knocked off his motorbike and he hasn't made it. Honestly, it didn't hit me. So I was just kind of like, Dad's died? Like, no, he hasn't. That's not right. He's still very much alive. And I couldn't process it. So I wasn't crying. I wasn't so much sad. I was just kind of like, what the fuck is going on? No. Like, I think I was in denial kind of, because I was just like, no, He isn't, he's still alive, but I just remember being kind of numb. So I just picked up my handbag, went upstairs, and my manager and assistant manager already knew about it. Mum had told them to, like, you know, keep on normal so I wouldn't like guess anything and it wouldn't like ruin my day until she came in. So I just grabbed my handbag, I was like, right, I'm going, and I just left. Like, I didn't care about my shift, I didn't care about my job, I was just like, I'm going. I walked out, I walked down the high street in Wolverhampton. I literally didn't want to walk with anyone. So my mum and my stepdad were there and I was just like, I don't want to walk with you. I wanted to be by myself. So I was walking ahead of them. I had my car and my mum was like, you're not driving your car, like you're coming with me and your stepdad is taking your car home because I'm not letting you drive your car in this state. And at the time I was like, I'm not in a state, like I don't feel anything, like I'm numb. And she was like, you will. I rang my best friend Ella, who was with her dad on Boxing Day, and she lives about 45 minutes away from me, and I rang her and I just said, again, my dad's died. She was like, your dad or your granddad? And I was like, my dad. And it must have been like a shock to her as well. And she was like, okay, my dad's getting me in the car now, we're coming to yours, I'll be there straight away. I went with my mum to my grandma's house, my grandma and granddad. I just remember going into my granddad's house, hugging him, because he's like my second dad, he's like a father figure to me anyway. So I just hugged him, broke into tears, and I remember him saying, just let it out, just cry all you want, it's a big thing, you need to cry. It was the first time in about, I got told about 2 hours ago, and this was the first time I was crying because it hit me and I was like, my dad has died. I was crying, and the first thing that I asked was, who's going to walk me down the aisle? And that was the main thing that really got to me and really upset me. I'm not engaged, I'm not planning to get married anytime soon, but I literally, it just hit me that my dad won't be there to walk me down the aisle. And my granddad was like, don't be so stupid, like I'm here, like I will walk you down the aisle. And that made me cry more. You know, it just got to me. My mind was just like, what is going on right now? And then Ella came with her dad, and her dad was lovely. He hugged me and said, you know, you've lost your dad, but you've always got a dad in me. He dropped Ella off and was like, don't worry that it's Boxing Day, don't worry that like Ella's coming with you instead of me, you need her more right now. And that was just lovely. And he dropped her off with me, and I just sat and cried with her for a little bit and just told her like what I knew. And it was just nice to get it off my chest, kind of. It was nice to tell someone how I felt who wasn't in my family and wasn't going to be like upset by it as well. Although Ella was like upset as well because it was like her best friend's dad. Like it was shocking for everyone. And then I just remember thinking, who's going to tell my dad's mom, so my grandma, that my dad has died? Because she had lost my uncle, my granddad, and now my dad in the space of 3 years. But I knew that it was something I just had to do. Like, obviously she needed to know. So I rang up my stepbrother. He took me and Ella to my grandma's. So we turned up at her door and she was like, oh, hello, like weird to see all of us together, especially Ella. She was like, oh, hello, would you like to come in and have a cup of coffee, like come and sit down? And I just walked in and I just said, Grandma, you need to sit down. And she was like, no, come in, have a cup of tea, blah, blah, blah. Everything was normal. And I was like, no, Grandma, you need to sit down, like I need to tell you something. And her face just dropped. I think she knew something was coming, obviously, but she didn't know to what extent. So she sat down and I sat in front of her and I held her hand because I knew it was going to be a kick in the teeth. And I just said to her, Dad's been in a motorbike accident. To this point, she didn't know he had a motorbike, which was rubbing the salt in the wound. So she was like, he doesn't own a motorbike. And I was like, he does, he's been in a motorbike accident. And she was like, oh my god, is he okay? And she just kept asking me over and over and over again, saying, is he okay, is everything all right, is he in hospital, what's happening, is everything okay? And I just point blankly had to put it out there and I just said, he's dead, because I felt like sugarcoating it wasn't going to help in this situation. She just put her head in her hands and she was like, oh my god, this isn't happening, I can't believe it. I just had to tell her, like, us White Houses are going to stick together. I just tried my best to be strong for her, and she wanted to be alone, so we left her. And yeah, I was worried for her more than anyone. I didn't care about myself, I didn't care about how I felt. I was worried for her because it's her son at the end of the day. Like, it's my dad, but it's her son. So that was like the main thing for me that worried me a lot. But yeah, that was the whole day in a nutshell. I went home, me and my mum took Ella home. To this day, I am completely grateful for Ella for doing that for me. She just dropped everything and came to me and I am so grateful for that, and I'm so grateful for everyone who helped me that day. Yeah, I think that whole day just felt numb and adrenaline was kind of taking over, so I wasn't so much sad about it. I was more like, oh my god, like everything was going on, like this is a drama, like everything's happening, and it was kind of just like, it didn't feel real, like everything happening at once. So I don't think it really hit me for a while. Yeah, I just wanted to share that story with you because a lot of people don't understand how it feels to actually lose someone there and then, like to hear about it, and answer the question for a lot of people who ask me how was I told about my dad, to help anyone who's been in my situation to know that they are normal for how they feel. A lot of people are going to take things differently. A lot of people would have been sad, whereas I was kind of like numb, just trying to keep going and keeping in a rush, and some people I know would have just broken down. So I hope you enjoyed this video, or I hope it was informative. I hope it helped. Bye.